All right, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order, August 28, 2012, Amelia Village Council. Kevin, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Dickerson, here. Ms. Gerber, not present. Mr. Pollock.
Hey.
Mr. Campbell.
Here.
Mr. Thacker.
Here.
Ms. Elliott.
Here.
5 present, 1 absent. We have a quorum.
All right, stand for the pledge, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight. We're going to go ahead and get right into it. So we've got the previous minutes for August 14, 2012. Does everybody have a copy of that? Everybody's had a chance to look at that. So I'd entertain a motion.
No, I don't have an objection. I'm not present.
You're not present.
No. They didn't mark me present.
So you'd like to have a change to
I'd like to have a change to
the
present.
minutes.
Yes, if y'all don't mind. All right. Other than that, I stand approved as read.
Anybody else have any comments? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Make a motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to have it
As amended.
amended with Bob added as present. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Mr. Dickerson. Yay. Mr. Pollock.
Yay.
Mr. Campbell.
Yay.
And Mr. Thacker.
Abstain.
And Ms. Elliott.
Yay.
4 ayes, 1 abstention, 1 absence. It passes.
Everyone have a copy of the bills? Comments, questions on the bills?
I have a question.
Sure.
Peaches Lawn Care, it's got on here broken limbs removal in Grove Park.
Yes.
Is that mowing and the limb removal?
No, that was strictly limb removal. We had several broken limbs that were hanging, jagged. We were afraid they were going to come down, so they're usually the people we contract with to take nuisance limbs and trees down with, so that was just for tree limbs.
Just a point of note, the next to last warrant for Star Ohio, that was basically just moving money from the River Hills Bank, the CD there, to the Star Ohio investment. We can access the money a lot more readily, and Star Ohio is paying a slightly higher interest rate than River Hills.
Very good.
So basically, you show it coming in, and you had to show it going back out.
Yeah.
Very good.
That's why our figure's pretty high at the bottom there.
I thought it was the money we gave for the escrow for the West Main Street to make it really high.
That too.
That too.
There you go.
That definitely put the numbers up. Any other questions on the bills? Hearing none, I entertain a motion.
Make a motion. I'll second it.
A motion and a second. Any other comments? If not, roll call vote.
Mr. Dickerson.
Yay.
Mr. Pollock.
Yay.
Mr. Campbell.
Yay.
Mr. Thacker.
Yay.
Ms. Elliott.
Yay.
Passes 4 to 1 absent.
Police Chief, Mr. David Fred.
Council, Mayor.
We've been busy as usual. As a matter of fact, in July, we were just 30 shy of 500 calls. So we've been really, real busy. But on the notable events and occurrences, they were everything from Gosh, you name it, we had it. So the list would be endless. So I decided to put on 3 things on there that we are starting to see a lot. The last few years, the law had changed from telephone harassment to telecommunications harassment, which is what they use now in law. And telecommunication harassment is not necessarily cell phones, text messages, and things like that. Facebook has a big problem with that. So if somebody's threatening somebody else on Facebook or something like that, then that would be telecommunications harassment. We would have to handle that call just as if they would have a phone and things like that. So we've had, for some reasons, we've had a lot of problems with that. Grandparents versus child custody issues, we've had a lot of problems with this. This is a very sensitive issue in which children are involved, very young children, and grandparents are sometimes put in a position of raising their children's children. So after a while, the grandparents feel that when the parents are trying to straighten themselves out or have little problems or something here and there where the grandparents put in that position, grandparents feel that they are best left with them. They may have maybe even have a sense of entitlement on that. But the thing is, when the police get called there, they are put in a situation where they do not have any paperwork saying that they're in any kind of custody over the children. So the children has to go with the next of kin, which is the parents, either the father or the mother on that. So the Court of Common Pleas and Juvenile Court, we advise them to go there and handle the proper paperwork, in which only 25% of the time they do that. So we've been having a lot of calls on this, so I thought I would explain that because that is a big issue. September 4th is the first day of school, and we'll be ready front and back of the school. So we'll have cars there patrolling the traffic, because I'm sure it takes a week or two of break-in, parent break-in, grandparent break-in, whoever, once they get that route going correctly. As mandated by Attorney General's office, as of by September the 13th, all the officers will have updated training in human trafficking. That is Mike DeWine's big thing. There's a lot of that going out there where even parents pimp their own children. So we have to really stay on top of that. There's even instances in Ohio, close to us, maybe not Claremont County, but surrounding counties, they've had issues about this. So we keep on top of that. The new Amelia part-time officer update, phase 1's completed. I had 17 interviews last week, so that's a very busy week for me. And I want to explain to you kind of how this goes. After there's 17 interviews, 1/3 of those are reach phase 2, which is a panel type interview with the full-time officers. It's very important that not only these officers are excellent, that these officers actually fit in the Amelia Police Department. So that's very important. And these interviewees are asked standard questions having to do with education experience, commitment to police work, longevity, interpersonal skills, personal integrity, and moral and ethics, department rules, and personal interests. After that, they're evaluated on the sheet as first impression, communication skills, education experience, longevity, how long we think they're going to be here, skills and abilities, attendance, and the integrity and morality, and the general personality impression. And these are actually evaluated in a form that rates from poor, fair, average, good to excellent. So we've narrowed it down to 5 to 7 eligible candidates, and they're very, very good. So we've got that going. The badges have been ordered. They'll be here in 5 to 6 weeks. We have new raincoats, which is an issue because the raincoats we used to have were, I think I had mentioned that months ago to the mayor, like months ago. And now they're black on the outside and high visit green or yellowish neon type on the outside, and they got reflectorized stuff. The raincoats they had, these raincoats last for years, and we only got 4 of them, all sizes. And they last for years, and the ones you had back there were the black and the orange ones, but the orange were more like pink. So they had really faded out really bad and are ripped and everything else. And you couldn't even see the officers in like rain and low light conditions and stuff. So it was very important to update those. We got basic fingerprint kits in all the cars now. And the reason I did that is because we do have the big cases, but they're kept on station here. So the officer, if he wanted to take fingerprints, he wouldn't have to run all the way back there and leave the victim there with the crime scene. He could simply just go out to his trunk and get the basic fingerprints and take the fingerprints that he would need. So those were relatively cheap, and we got them, and all the cars have them now. And the Claremont Chiefs Association, regular business meeting, there's nothing to report. The Amelia Business Association meeting, I don't want to spill some, ruin somebody's thunder there. I think they're going to have some public input here on that, so a little bit later on. And then public safety, it goes to show you the calls for service and all that's been going on there. Any questions or comments or anything?
Sounds busy.
It's pretty busy, especially last week. And I'm sure we're going to have a record high calls this month too. I think last week, Officer Levins had 17 calls in one shift. So that is a lot of calls. And with that is a lot of paperwork. So keep them busy.
Thanks, Steve.
Fire chief.
Evening. We had a fairly busy month in Amelia as well. 39 EMS incidents in the village, and 20 fire incidents in the village. A lot of those were from storms. If you remember back in July, we got hit about 3 times, a pretty significant storm. As far as in July, nothing real significant, but I did want to bring you up to date on the fire on the 24th on Hummingbird. About $25,000 damage. That fire was caused by the house was vacant. It was starting to be renovated. They left the bathroom ceiling fan on, and that's where the fire began. And that ceiling fan went up in the attic and did significant damage to the roof structure of the house. Probably salvageable by far. Luckily, no one was hurt. None of our people were hurt. They made a nice stop and saved a good portion of the residents. So I think the restoration company was a little shocked when they showed up that morning to come to work, but hopefully they'll get on and get it taken care of. So it should be good.
You were very quiet.
What's that? I'm sorry.
You were very quiet.
Quiet? Didn't wake you up.
Four houses down, and I didn't hear that.
Never heard of that.
Didn't even wake up.
Well, that's good. So other than that, nothing else significant. I got a noise going on. Sorry about that. Besides that, nothing else real significant other than just a busy month all around, especially with the storms. Any questions for me?
I can tell you were a little busy.
So,
I hear you.
it's been crazy.
All right, thank you.
All right,
Chief.
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Ricky Rowland, Public Works.
Good evening. Okay. In addition to the regular maintenance, we also involved in, on the 24th of July, we had storm damage, just sporadic throughout the village and not a lot. Some tree branches down on South Klein Grove Park and Shank Park, and also on Church Street. That's all been cleaned up and hauled away. Installation of electrical service at Shank Park. We installed the electrical system, the meter and plugs and everything, in time for National Night Out. That was all completed, and the total cost, excluding the labor, was $1476.04. So it came in under a little bit under budget, what you had asked for. A little bit. National Night Out. Skip one. The burial at the IOF Cemetery on the 27th of July. We had a burial again this year. The arrangements went well in preparation of the opening and closing the grave. Everything went fine. No hitches over there. National Night Out, Public Works Department participated in the Set Up and Tear Down, a National Night Out event on August the 7th. Many thanks to Chief Friend and his officers and their assistants. It takes more than two to do that, and at this point, that's what we have in the police department graciously have put up that team of things. Cemetery training at Dublin, Ohio. On August 13th to the 15th, I attended an annual conference of the OCA. That's the Ohio Cemetery Conference, held in Dublin. This training was in preparation for the reopening of the Iowa Cemetery. Discussions covered Ohio laws that govern the cemetery, responsibilities of the governing agency, and the oversee the cemetery, new trends, and the effects of financial stability in the future of traditional burials. This information is passed on to the cemetery board, and we've got other discussions we'll do on that. Church Street, I received a letter on the 17th of concern about conditions of Church Street. I have reported several times in the past several years the very poor conditions of Church Street and in the dire need of repair. However, the only option that is available due to the budget is to repair the potholes and reburn, put new gravel down to sustain it. We do this on a monthly basis, especially during months that the school is in. I would like to emphasize that our department is doing all that is possible to retain the street in the budget that we have at the present time. When the funds are available, we'll certainly repair the street and resurface. Just simply not possible at this point in time as well, as you know. We've also taken beds on permanent repair and mill and fill on just that intersection, which I believe will be discussed.
Yes.
Yes. That seemed to be the biggest part of concern, is that intersection of Chapel and Church, and that's what we have took bids on. New signage at the parks. The new signage has been placed in Pond Park, posting the park rules, catch and release notification. Also, park rules were repaired in Shank Park, Grove Park, and Arrowhead Park. We had posted those earlier on the playgrounds, and they was defaced within a week or two. So we replaced them once again. And we have to replace in the future, which will be another week or so, the rules at Shank and the rules at Grove. Damage at Grove Park. Once again, vandals have damaged the shelter at Grove Park. Although the damage was minor, approximately about $200 this time. It is a sign that those few people that are responsible are not willing to restrain from such activities. This is the third or fourth incident since spring. It is my recommendation that this continues, that skate park and the shelter area be closed until spring, to allow spring of 2013. To allow this sort of behavior without repercussions would only encourage the future acts of vandalism. The last repairs were completed August 21st. Some of the repairs actually, during the time that discovered the vandalism, there was a lot of children or teenagers up there at the skate park, which I spoke to, and they had no idea what happened, where it went, what done as normal occasions or normal situation. However, by the next morning I went over there to do the repairs. Several pieces was already replaced and repaired. Either we have little gnomes that come in at night and repair that, or one of those kids who was responsible did repair it. They replaced the outlet that was smashed and cleaned up all around the holes and areas. Then we had to replace or repaint picnic tables and things that were burned. They took a lighter and plastic and lit the tables on fire and the pole on fire and that kind of things this time. But whoever was responsible must have told somebody, because a lot of the repairs were already made. Materials for recycle. Over the past several years since I've become supervisor, we have collected several items that could be recycled and the profit we put back into the public works account. Previously, those things were discarded, the metals and things, and I started saving those and placing areas in order to recycle it eventually. I would like to, we have saved approximately 60 damaged signs, several mowers, which are not repairable, quantities of scrap iron, and several hundred pounds of metal. I'd like council's approval to take the materials to the recycle center. Not only is this good for the environment, but it was fiscally responsible to do this, to put money back into my fund. It won't be a lot of money, but it'll be some money that we can put back into the public works fund. So I wanted to ask to have that approved. New tires purchased for the international. In order to prepare the international for the winter and possible snow plowing, we need to repurchase 4 new tires. The rear tires are smooth. The existing tires are more smooth in the center with only outer treads, which are quickly wearing out also. I had got a estimate from Bob Summerall, it would be $445.75 per tire, and I would like to get permission to get those tires on this month also on that truck, which will begin getting us ready for them. The 92 Chevy dump truck, repairs are being done. I had down Brian Kimberlin's, and he did all the tune-ups and everything and check filters. We will need to do the hydraulics, exhaust, and then the sandblastics and recoating of the undercarriage, and also lights put back on. It doesn't have the flashing lights. I'm not thinking too well tonight for some reason.
And out in the sun.
The strobe lights. Yeah, I've been out in the sun too long today, I guess it was, yeah. I will start doing that first of next week, getting the schedule for the exhaust first, then the hydraulics for the plow, and then we will do sandblasting and the undercoating before the lights. The lights will be the last thing. However, I like to have all these repairs done before the end of October. That way we make sure everything's ready for the winter on that truck. It'd probably be another $4,000 to $5,000 roughly to do those repairs. The fence at the IOF cemetery has been removed and put in storage until further notice or whatever you guys decide to do with the cemetery board decides to do. Leaf pickup for 2012. Due to the breakdown of the 2000 Chevy dump truck, we can no longer offer loose leaf pickup unless the replaced truck, the 92 Chevy, is outfitted for the vacuum. This will require construction of a new box, a frame-mounted receiver, which could cost upwards of $500. It has been suggested that we do bag pickup only. We will still pick up all the leaves that are set to the curb, however, they must be bagged this year because there's a lot of things going involved, putting that vacuum back on there. And that's also up to council's discretion whether they want to go any further than that or just do the bag pickup, which we're perfectly capable of doing that. And that's about it. Thank goodness.
When you're talking bags, are you just talking whatever garbage bags? Leaf
They would
bags,
be,
or-
what typically everybody uses, the heavy construction leaf bags or something like that. You don't want a real thin bag because if you do, as soon as you pick them up, they just tear down the side. So it would have to be a construction quality or leaf quality bag. And some of them use paper bags, which is fine unless it's raining. That type of bags, and we pick them up and split them in the truck. It will probably require, in the past, I have been dropping the leaves off to a person outside town who uses them to make mulch and that kind of things for our garden. With the bags, we can't do that, so we'll have to take those and dump them or have them dumped or fill our dumpster up and empty more times. But that's it. Disposal leaves would be the only difference of how we go about disposal.
That's something I guess we'll look into on those bags, Ricky. Whether we want to go to a leaf disposable type bag, or possibly they could come here and pick up the heavy duty bags for leaves.
Okay. Yeah, as long as it's something that we can pick up that won't tear. We had that problem before. The leaves were wet. The bags would be very heavy. You want to grab them, they just tear down the side. Why would be, if they're in bags, we can't just take them to auction or anything like that because they won't accept bags. So we'll use it in our dumpster and just keep smashing it down, and we can put quite a little bit in there if we take our excavator and keep forcing it down, and they will take that. The dumpster.
Okay. I know in the last 2 years we've had several issues.
Yeah.
You know, trying to back them up those leaves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I jump in here and make some comments?
You sure can? We've got a couple things. Go ahead, Bob.
Oh, okay.
First of all, since Ricky has been to the trainings of the cemetery procedures and so forth, I'd like to ask the mayor to appoint Ricky as the sexton for the Oddfellow Cemetery and the Amelia Methodist Church Cemetery. That's one thing. Second thing is Church Street. I looked at that today with Ricky to see what they were figuring on doing and how it was going to be done and what the cost was going to be. And I agree with Ricky that under the circumstances, since we don't have any money for that type of situation, the only way to do it is this contractor. What was his name? I forgot already.
Nichols.
Nichols, yeah.
The one I have, the mayor has a second bid.
Yeah, he's got a bid of around $4,300, give or take a buck or two, to make 2 tracks around that intersection on Church Street with the turning part coming and going, and will prevent that from getting into the gravel and shoving it off into the ditches and a few things, and it will maintain the road in its original condition. So I think we should okay that tonight if possible, because it's a school thing. I mean, it's not a school thing, but school's going to start, and if we don't want a construction truck in there and a road roller, and there are school buses and women and mothers and one thing and another all jammed up in the corner at the same time. And according to Ricky, he can get that done before school starts on Tuesday. If we okay that tonight. Now, it's not a forced issue, it's just practicality. Okay? All right, next. On the recycling, if we don't get rid of that junk's going to overwhelm us. It's like a germ. It just keeps growing. You throw a bag of garbage out to here today, tomorrow there's going to be 20 bags of garbage. Well, it works the same way here. So I think we should okay him to load up the dump trucks, probably both of them, and go down to recycle down round bottom, turn it in for money, bring it back and put it in the road account. That's my opinion on that. And on the tires, did you talk to Tire Discount, which is right here in Amelia?
No. See what I talked to the supervisor down in Batavia to where they got the best prices, state minimum prices, and that's who they use at Bob Summerall. So that's the best price that he could find, and so I just went off of that.
You didn't talk to him personally?
To Bob Summerall?
No, to
Not Tire Discount.
Tire Discount.
I can.
I think we should. I mean, they're right in the middle of Amelia, and we're buying tires. I'd like not to go someplace else and buy tires under those circumstances. If they were outside town, it'd make a difference. But I think we ought to at least give our inside businesses a shot at it one way or another. If they're too high, I say, hell, you're too high, we got to go out. They may ticker with it.
Okay.
Or they
can do that.
You can do that. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Okay. All right, getting back to the vandalism in the parks. Why don't we, under the auspices of the police chief, buy a couple of cameras? Get a cherry picker, mount them up in a tree somewhere, and let those mothers run. We're going to stop that vandalism just that quick. You pull the tapes down and think, oh, look at that. That's such and such and such and such. What do you think?
I think one, you're going to have to look at the price of the cameras.
Well, they're not that expensive.
Then how great a video you actually get off of these cameras in order to catch these people. And of course, you're going to have battery or electric hookup to run.
I know, but if you're spending $600, $500, $1,000, you can buy a lot of cameras, batteries, and flashlights.
I think that question could probably be answered best by Chief, as far as what your thoughts are on putting cameras.
Well, as far as the cameras go, they work. When we have security cameras like at speedways and things like that, and you see those on the news and all that, they have very well lighted conditions where you can actually tell who that person is, or they try to tell who that person is. A place like Grove Park and under a shelter at midnight, or the skate park or something like that, with the low light conditions, it would probably have to be a really expensive camera system to try to do that with. That's what I would think. I'd have to check into that though and find out.
Could you do that for me? Let's see about. Do you know anything about the cameraman over there? Do you know anything? Do you know anything about video cameras, nighttime video cameras?
A little bit, but I agree with what he just said. It's we have some over at our church, and they're once you get at night, they do turn into a night type vision mode, and you can see it a lot better than you think you would. But once you get a certain distance away, it's really hard to recognize. But if anything, my thought, and I was thinking this as you guys were talking, if anything, it's a deterrent that there's a camera there. It's going to scare. It's going to deter some people. So.
That could work too.
Yeah, just that it's there is going to.
Mm-hmm. You see a little red light flare.
If you wouldn't mind, Chief, looking into it and getting us a price on that, if you would. See if we can find out.
You know, while we're talking about that, what about just taking the equipment away that's being damaged? I mean, that's what we do when the kids act up with their toys. We take
You
them
wouldn't have a
away.
park
Yeah,
then. Well, I think one thing they would damage something else.
Well, then I mean that's so be it. I mean,
Well, you can't punish everyone for one.
We have that situation in Airhead now. We took away everything possible, although I've got the things back to get ready to put back in there. And we have no park down there. You have just an empty shelter with no seating. You have a swing set with no swing. And residents are concerned about that. We have ordered the swings and everything, and Chief had asked me to wait until school to start to help maybe deter some of the activities. So they'll be going up in about a week. But you probably have several parks with no swings, no benches, no shelters, no.
yeah, I want in the area to the closest one to me.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, but that's. I mean, what do you do? What they're gonna? Because I don't know that the cameras are gonna deter them.
What we need is the residents to pay more attention to what's going on in their neighborhoods. And when they see something suspicious, they need to call.
Exactly, and I don't know how else you.
That would be the best.
Yeah, but if it happens at 1 or 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Another option
That's just noise, of course.
would be to put a reward out. If it's something that's reoccurring, then maybe if we put a reward out for information, and if it pans out, then somebody can make a little extra money.
That's a shot too.
What is curfew in Amelia for, like, the teenager type group? Is there a set curfew?
Yes, there is a curfew. It lasts probably about, I would think, from 11 to 12, midnight to 5 in the morning, I would think. We're not exactly sure that these are juveniles. They could
Exactly,
be 18-year-olds.
Exactly.
19-year-olds, we see a lot of those up in the parks as well, so.
And a lot of times I'm driving around
And
and
sometimes in their park, they're not necessarily, I want you to understand that they're not necessarily Amelia people either. There are people from other communities that come in and use the facilities, and my guess is that they wouldn't really respect it if it's not to
There's been times I've been out and it's been dark and I see a group of, I'm not sure their ages, running down the street, carrying on, and so, it alerts me to kind of watch which way they head, but yeah, I guess it would come down to just residents keeping an eye on your areas a little more. If you see a group of kids walking down the street and it looks a little odd, make the call.
But in any case, I would guess that the few, just like everywhere else, the few were in it for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So there's probably just a few that do that. And as years go by, they grow up and they move on, and then the other few, the new few,
The new shift.
come in.
All right, so I have Chief look into that, and Ricky, you're going to look at tire discounter on the tires.
Yes, take the jump.
The junk we need to check on with Julia to see,
Why?
some of that we have to, we would first have to declare it surplus before we can just
You just
take it and recycle.
So you
We'll have
declare
to
it?
inventory it, declare it
Oh.
surplus, and
Good,
then we
good.
can do it. That's
I don't
the
think
way it
so.
works.
I don't think so. Just throw it in the truck and take it to the dump.
Well, we're gonna, she'll check it, but I think we'll inventory it, we'll,
Oh, you're making a mountain out of a molehill.
that's why we're going. The other thing you've got, Bob, I want to touch on, everybody got a letter. This is going on Church Street that needs some
Yeah.
repairs with the blacktop. I gave all of council this letter from Kathy Kent for all of council to read. We are looking, I got with with Ricky and Bob, we asked 3 different blacktop companies to come out and look at that and give us proposals to fix those 2 corners. And like Bob said, they would fix both corners, so many feet out all the way around the corner, so we can get rid of that gravel. And I think we actually, low bid came in at $4,375.
Yeah, I think it's,
And I think the closest one we had to that was almost 8,000. So that's a heck of a price to do what we're asking them to do. So, and they said they could do this if they were notified today. They could have this done before school starts. So I think it'd be a great thing to do. We do have the money to do it for that amount.
Have the road fund?
Yes. So I'd like to ask council.
The fund balance as of yesterday, or as of the 24th, street repair fund was $107,000, and the motor vehicle license was $80,000. That has to carry Ricky through the end of the year, payroll, benefits,
Right.
snow removal, and what have you.
So,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, where are we at making that a one-way street? Because that's the ideal that I've heard that I've liked the best out of it.
Well, with school starting and all, right now, I don't think it's gonna happen. Batavia Township owns half of that road, so we also have to work with Batavia Township to do that. That's something I really wanna see happen. Right now, we're just not at that
I
point.
thought we owned it all.
No, we do not.
We
We
own-
own the end of church and chapel, and we own the end just after the school lets out onto church. From there, in between both of that road's divided in half. I suggest council think about giving that part of the road to Batavia Township, if they would take it.
Give the
I
whole
think
thing
that would
thing?
be a great thing, so.
I'd like to give them the whole thing. Can we give them?
It's something we can discuss in the future with
With them.
Batavia Township.
Okay.
We haven't brought it up to them yet, but it is something I think council maybe would think about doing.
We've got the beginning and the end of the road, right?
Yes.
Can you imagine that?
Don't, that was,
Center.
that was done in past administrations, and so we just have to work through it and try to make the best we can right now.
What's the longevity of the style repair that they're planning?
I didn't ask that, but if you do the entire road, it's 5 to 10 years, something like that. We're only doing a little bit. I can find out. I didn't ask the longevity of it.
I mean, still typical 5 years.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I mean, it's not
Unless you get some.
it's not a
heavy
quick
truck.
patch that's gonna fall apart in
No,
6 months.
No,
No, they're gonna grind it.
It's what they call
Yeah,
mill
cold
and fill.
patches.
It's what they refer to as mill and fill. They mill off, like they did here on 125.
Okay.
You get down 2.5 inches and you come back up with new blacktop.
And then some berm work there
Yeah,
on each
and
side
then-
as well.
Yeah, we'll be doing the burn work, they're just doing the blacktop. Burn work isn't really an issue because we've got that built up and it's pretty solid.
It's pretty solid. I was surprised when I went out there. As much gravel as we put in the last few years, it's solid. Until you get the snow and ice and the gravel, and then you get the buses doing the turning. That's why we're thinking, you get that surface with a blacktop, it won't start pulling and peeling and making a hole, so.
Do the buses go that way?
Some of them do. We do still get buses on there, so. Not as many as before, but I'm told we still get buses that go that way.
Because that's something they could eliminate.
The bus
Using
traffic.
that intersection. To keep from that would break down the edges more than anything.
Absolutely.
I do have one question.
Sure.
I'm not sure, but a statement was made about that we didn't think it was important. Didn't we try to get a grant or try to get something done at one
Yes,
point?
we did.
Because I just want residents to know that we're not ignoring these things. And
No,
it's
we
just
tried
that
to get
the
a grant on that street.
Okay, because the statement made was sounding that we didn't try.
I believe the original price came in to do that $850,000.
Okay.
So we applied for that grant. We didn't receive that grant. But we did receive a grant where we could get a low-interest loan from the federal government to repair that. And, we just don't have that kind of money just to get a loan to repair.
I just wanted it known that I want the residents to think that we're ignoring things, and we're not.
No, we're
we
not.
tried and it failed.
I think the county and Batavia Township was going to put into that $850,000. I think they were going to put $2,500. So
And it would have been back
the rest
on
would have
us.
fell on us, and
Okay.
we just couldn't afford it.
Okay, I was just checking with that.
So, any other questions?
I make a motion, we go ahead with the repair.
I'll second.
I've got a motion and a second. Any other comments on Church Street?
I really, how's this going to affect it when it goes one way? Because I really think that that's the solution to the problem.
That's a great solution, but who's going to say we can even get that done being we only own half the road?
Well, we put it in one way at the beginning, one way at the end. That kind of solves that.
Anybody in the middle, sorry about that.
I mean, I can't imagine they would fight us on that. That's, I guess, there's a better way of saying that.
I can bring the proposal up to them and see what they say.
Because I mean, is this really gonna make it viable as a two-way street again, or because I mean, it really with the school traffic, there's just too much traffic for the little road, and I think that's why the cost came back so expensive, right? If I'm not mistaken in what I'm thinking there.
Well, they wanted to widen it, put sidewalks down,
it's,
put drainage down, and yeah, it was
Yeah.
pretty intensive what they were going to do. So, I will take that to Batavia Township and see what they say. Council feel that way, or?
Are we just looking to patch what's in the village or also in Batavia
They
Township?
patched their part, so we're looking to do that end on Church and Chapel. That's where all the headaches are. That's where the gravel has been undermined.
So
in
just
the
that
curb.
curb is $4,000.
Two, both sides.
Okay. So both
Yep,
sides.
both sides, I think 25 feet up about,
Probably 30 feet.
30 feet up,
It's
and
quite a ways
about
up.
12 feet wide.
Yeah.
So it's quite a bit. I was surprised at the price.
What it's really doing is establishing the old blacktop edge, which has been torn up by the dump trucks digging that big hole over there, which is a mosquito breeding farm.
Actually, when they built the school, that probably should have been in the bid package, to make sure that road was repaired after the school was done. But that's when the road took the brunt.
The road took the brunt when Kim put those buildings in there. The big dump trucks he brought in there when he was building those buildings.
What buildings? You mean the condos right there on the corner?
Use the term loosely, yeah. He tore it up. He didn't. Well, yeah, he did because they're his trucks. And I thought, I'll bet you Batavia Township, not knowing that we owned it, or it was village, that Batavia was going to raise hell with him because he was tearing the roads up. But apparently, we own it, and we didn't.
That I do not know, Bob.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Well, I also think we should contact the school and see if they can eliminate using the buses
Okay.
on Church Street.
That's
going to bring it down more than anything else.
That'd be a good idea. They could, and I don't know why they're using it in the first place. You can't get out of Church Street.
Okay. I will do that. I will contact the school.
The only ones that I know, the bus that goes up there are the little preschool buses, and they just go as far as the back entrance of the school up Church Street, but they do not go to that intersection. Then they turn around and go back out, which is towards the end of the school when all the traffic sort of gets out of there. The school buses come in off of Chapel and go into the back driveway of the school. I do not know that a school bus really goes through that intersection.
Well, I think I've seen school buses
I can
out there.
find out easy.
At the
Yeah, we can
intersection of
check
Church
with them,
Street.
and then we'll.
Yeah, I'll find out.
Okay, I'd appreciate that, Chief.
We have a motion on the floor, Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Any other discussion? We got a second also, right? Roll call vote.
Mr. Dickerson.
Yay.
Mr. Pollock.
Yay.
Mr. Campbell.
Yay.
Mr. Thacker.
Yay.
Ms. Elliott.
Yay.
Passes 5-0 with one absent.
All right. Rob brought up something that I know nothing about, Ricky, so maybe you can help me. What does a sexton do for a cemetery, for people out there who have?
They run the cemetery and oversee all operations of the cemetery.
And is that just a title? I mean, that's
It's-
what you do anyway?
I do that now, yeah, it's a title. It actually is, it's actually a real job for some people.
It is a real job.
In
Someday it'll
most
be a real
areas,
job.
yeah, they do have cemetery sextons. That's their job, a full-time job. But it's incorporated into
In your job.
my job.
You haven't got anything else to do.
So, yeah, but yeah, at this point, it's a title.
Okay.
But it couldn't work out. We need to have somebody that has a hands-on in the cemetery. And that's what he's going to school for and all this other stuff.
Well, let me see if we get some kind of a job description written up on that or what it entails, and then at the next council meeting, we'll bring it forward and go with it. Is that all right, Bob?
We should have a booklet on that, yes.
Okay.
Yes, we should.
All right.
I can get one.
Anything else for Ricky?
No, you can sit down.
What would be the estimated value of the scrap metal?
I would say with the aluminum sign wise, it's probably $300. It would overall probably about $450, $500. It's not a great deal now.
If it's under $1,000, you guys can, he can actually do it, so
That's
that's
junk,
not.
in other words.
We need to do that in the form of a motion, or
It can
is
just
it?
be a motion.
I make a motion that Ricky take the jump to round bottom for recycle.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion over the jump? Hearing none, roll call vote.
I could guess that other way, but I guess.
Mr. Dickerson.
Yay.
Mr. Pollock.
Yay.
Mr. Campbell.
Yay.
Mr. Thacker.
Yay.
Ms. Elliott.
Yay.
Passes 5-0, 1 absent.
All right.
I have one thing, just in regards with the tires, you may want to check Richards up in Bethel. If you strike out the tire discounters, and you've also got Bantam Tire on the way to Bethel there. Look at them, see if it's something they could special order, and maybe give
Yeah,
somebody
I
a
know there's a government, minimum that they deal with, and that's what Summerall does. And that's why, I brought that up. Because some of those tires go $800 or better if you bought them without being with that government listing. But yeah, I can do
You sit down now.
that. Okay, thank you.
That's awful nice of you,
I
Bob.
thought it was. I've been holding him up there, now I can come sit down.
Do we need to do a dollar amount on that for their repair, not to exceed on that motion?
If you
For the
want
repair
to-
of Church
If you
Street.
want to limit it, yes.
We'll just leave it like it is? Okay.
I think so.
How about per the bid?
Per the bid. All right, anything else, Bob?
We haven't got to me yet.
Oh, I know. Recreation Commission, she's not here. I'm going to skip over that one. Zoning report, please. Danny, speak.
Well, first of all, I will thank council for getting rid of the junk, because it would not be good for the zoning inspector to give the council a zoning violation for junk and debris in their own yard.
Right.
So, there you go. Thank you. You have my report in writing. Permits are just basically fence and pools right now. We've had a couple of new homes built, but I think just 2. We had a lot of cases that have been closed, who have just complied finally. It was some gentle pleading and some heavy words, but they have, the tattoo parlor finally painted their back wall, things like that. So, little successes that we've had.
Good.
So, I think we're working slowly but surely. Working on the hazardous mitigation for the village. That has to be into the county by Friday. I'll have it there tomorrow. And we had a resident ask about putting no parking signs on Woodland Land Drive and tall trees. Ricky and I went out and looked at that the other day. I think it's definitely something that's needed along where the islands are. And either one side or the other, both. The resident asked for both sides to be covered. There's no parking because people park along there, and then, especially at night, it's very hard to get through. So I think council needs to look into that at some point soon.
Why are they parking there? There's no houses there. You have to get out of your car.
I think they're having parties and,
Oh, the party people park there.
yeah, so. But I think we need to definitely look into putting the no parking signs on both sides, at least where the islands are. So if
Yeah,
people
you
aren't-
need to park there.
Well, I know a lot, sometimes people, if they're getting a fast driver award, will pull into there and, stop right there at the island. And then people who are coming in don't see them, it makes it a traffic mess, so
Good idea.
I think that needs to be taken care of. Other than that, I don't have anything.
I have a question.
Sure.
On our burnt structure, what are procedures now?
I don't know if I have any. They'll have to probably file for some kind of, well, I guess it depends on what the property owner wants to do. They're gonna try and rebuild. You know, that'll be up to the county if they'll be allowed to rebuild that. Or if they have to tear it down and then start over, so.
Chief, do you have anything about that?
Fire?
Yeah, after the house is out, and you all pack up and go home, what's the next step?
Next step we take, even before we leave, is we make a call to the Claremont County Building Department, and they will come out. Usually, in this case, there isn't physically a homeowner. It was owned by the bank and a restoration company doing the work. But they'll come out, and the building department takes a lead role in that as far as making sure permits are issued, work is done properly, and so forth. And they'll make a determination based on, especially since the fire was in the attic, that you said, in normal cases, the building department requires an engineer to look at that and see if it's suitable to be rebuilt, tore down, whatever.
Well, then,
Falls into the hands of the county.
do they recommend like putting an orange fence around, or any signs or anything, or
They
just leave
usually
it?
don't. That's what we ask is that the owners per se secure the residents because they're liable. Once we turn it back over to them, whoever, whether it's the bank, and they're usually a little more responsive to that,
Yeah.
to Joe homeowner, to get that place secured so kids don't get in there.
So
somebody
it's
doesn't get in.
it's the owner's responsibility.
It's the owner's
to do that.
responsibility to secure the residents once it's turned back over to them. The Claremont County Building Department will regulate the rebuild, tear down, whatever's appropriate.
Yeah, so it,
There you are.
It's electric poles, so forth, they can't even turn the electric back on until they get a permit from the county that's been approved. So the county kind of holds the strings on that as to, and get it back.
Okay.
Anything else for Dan? All right, thanks, Dan. Public input. Do you have anyone here tonight that would like to get up and address council? Yes, sir. Would please come up and state your name and address for us.
I'm Barry Hurlbert, and I represent the Amelia Business Association. We meet monthly, a group of business owners. And the last few meetings, we've had a question about signage. If we could get a sign at either end of the village to state that we have a meeting once a month and where we meet. Right now, we meet at Bob Evans, up there in the corner. Chief brought up, a few months ago, that there was talk about a new village sign that might be in the works, and we wondered if we might be able to at least be thought of when the village sign comes about, that we could add on a section to it, or a hanging plaque or something that would say, we are the Amelia Business Association, meets the second Thursday of each month at 8 a.m. at Bob Evans.
We are presently, right now, with all the new development going in with the Kroger project, and some other things happening down in there. We are looking at putting an entrance sign into the village. At that time, when we get something drawn up, I would love to sit down and talk to you guys. I think it'd be a nice addition to it.
We're not in a hurry. We just wanted to make known what we were hoping for.
And we're always looking for donations for signs.
Okay.
So let the Businessmen's Association know.
Maybe we can help out.
We kind of would envision an entrance into Amelia, and at one point we had talked about doing planters at the corners and different things like that. So I think it would be a great working relationship with the Business Association and us to sit down and talk about those things, because I think we'd like to see that come this way.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other public input tonight? Council input.
You got anything?
I think you talked out early.
We still got 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, let me think about it.
Do you want to give an update on the road widening project?
Go ahead. You got an update, or I can give it either one.
You go ahead. so residents know what
We-
to start looking for, so.
The road project and the Kroger project has begun. Kroger started on Monday, we start on Monday. We'll be widening 125 past tall trees. The first phase will be the water extension line where they're putting a new water line. I believe it's a 12-inch main on the north side. So that'll be put in place first. Then the second thing they'll do is put the sidewalk, which will be a 6-foot sidewalk, and then they'll put the curb before they have to get out into the highway. They told us they project that 90% of it will be done without impacting any traffic flow. So if that holds true, then that's going to be a really, really great thing for us, especially with the heavy traffic we have right now. So that's pretty much what I can bring us up to speed on. Do you have anything else?
No, that was pretty much.
They, now that you brought it up, I was down at the pawn shop today trying to get some money. and they marked that his entrance in around the curve part when you come going east, curve around, following the others. They marked the dots about that far off.
I have seen all those markings.
Yeah,
I'm
and the
not sure
concrete
what
drive
that's all
itself
about.
has got some orange markings. Like, and I thought they were in the clear. I didn't know that was even involved in any way, shape, or form. Did you know
As far as I
anything
know, everything's going to the north. The only thing I
Yeah.
can think of is they're marking the water and the fiber optic lines or the electric and the phone. There's a phone line there.
There's a
So
gas
I'm not
line
sure
on
there's a
that
gas
side.
line on there, so and maybe it's just general marks.
I mean, I thought they were all done.
I don't know of anything going on that.
That's
side.
what I mean. Okay. So I saw it today. I thought, ooh.
There's
Maybe
a
they
small
get
portion that's on the south side at the entrances to the Kroger.
Right, but
So
that's
they were
before
probably-
Fawcett Pond.
Right,
So.
it's before that, but they may have been marking the Johnny.
what she said.
They could have been marking that further down. There is going to be a change at Lori Lane with that new intersection,
Right.
and we are putting that light at Lori Lane.
Right.
So they could have marked the south side, and then they just went down an additional 200-300 feet with their markings,
They
just
don't-
both directions. So I'm not
They're
sure.
not figuring on setting a pole anywhere in there, are they? Because of that light or anything like that?
They'll be in that intersection before Fawcett Pond. Yeah, there'll be a couple new poles set on both sides.
I knew there's supposed to be a pole set there somewhere, but I didn't know where the pole was supposed to go. But it
Yeah,
would
I'm
have
not
to be the
exactly
traffic
sure at
light.
this
That
moment.
makes
So.
sense. Very good. Very good. Ricky wants to know what those flags are doing inside the perimeter or the boundaries of the cemetery.
Ricky had came to me and asked me that tonight. I'm
Yeah.
not sure, so we will go down there. It could just be, I think it's temporary easement markings.
I think the reference
Because
marks.
I believe they're referenced for the
Yeah.
temporary easement, and they don't expect to impede, especially in that section where the cemetery is.
Mhm. I
But
thought
they
about
still
it.
had to show where that right of way was, so they knew where the temporary easement was, where they could go to, so it needed to be.
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions I'll ask you after the meeting on that.
Okay. Any other council input?
Oh, I think I'll just dwell on that.
I got two things I want to bring up. One is the Amelia Youth Athletic Club has graciously invited us to a ribbon cutting ceremony on Saturday the 1st. It will be at 11 a.m. And they've got directions if anybody needs to know. It's actually going to be on Lindale-Nicholsville Road. They said it's going to be pretty nice. They've got some paratroopers jumping in with an American flag. They're going to have a lot of festivities. I plan on being there. So.
I could be, when is it?
Saturday the 1st, this Saturday coming.
I can't
Yeah.
be there.
Need to be there at 10:30.
I can't
So-
be there.
I'd like to see all council come and show our support to them. It's a great cause and a great bunch of people.
I could call my part in, but I can't make it.
Yeah, it'll have to be a maybe, since we got a big birthday party going on.
All right.
You having a birthday?
Now my eldest turns 5
I
Thursday,
know.
and then we're having a party on
Only,
Saturday.
only big parties for kiddies.
Yeah.
The other thing I'd like to, I would like to give Ms. Jennifer Halley a big thanks. I wrote a small letter as mayor of Amelia Village. I want to thank you for lending your physical officer expertise to us in our time of need. Your professionalism and competence removed all worries and made us feel confident that our financial affairs were being handled proficiently. We wish you luck in all your future endeavors. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I personally appreciate all that you did while I was
All right. Next council meeting will be Tuesday, September 11th at 2012 at 7 p.m. If there's no other council business at this time, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you very much.